Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. The bird is characterized by bright colors and attractive shapes. A parrot dazzled people for many years with his skill in imitating sounds, so much so that it has become one of the favorite pets of humans, and it is considered one of the most important and widespread pets. But what is his story? How can an animal pronounce letters and words? Simply a skill that only distinguishes humans, excluding the rest of the creatures on Earth. How does a parrot talk? I wonder if the voice he was giving off was really speech or not. For example, does a parrot have vocal cords and a larynx like a human? And if the answer is no, then how does he speak? Welcome. In this episode, we will solve a question that baffles us. We will answer the question, how can a parrot speak like a human? And before we start, if you are still new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell to receive our videos first.
Why do parrots talk, and how do they achieve it if they do not have vocal cords? The brains of these birds are one of the most complex. Talking is a form of socialization, but they don't use it with all species, like cats with meow, which is the exclusive way of communicating with humans. Parrots have developed the ability to talk as a system of communication with us that they never use in nature to communicate with each other. In the case of these birds, the sound is produced in a much more complex way than in the case of felines, and it turns out that they are capable of imitating almost any sound. Parrots, like all birds, do not have vocal cords. They cannot make the sounds that we make with the same method. They have an organ called the syrinx in the trachea, which can reproduce, by a cognitive mechanism of imitation, any sound that can be imagined. Imitation is very important in parrots, as they are prepared to be able to reproduce the environment in which they live, which can be clearly seen in any park or natural area with an abundant population of parrots. Not only can they imitate the human voice, but any sound that may be important to reproduce in some circumstance of alarm or threat to the community. Therefore, the imitatory capacity and the ability to reproduce sounds of any kind has a natural protective and another specific communicational basis with humans, in that animal with a close bond with us. Pet parrots, that is, in close coexistence with humans, understand that talking is an important trait for us. They understand that this is a method of communication, and that these kinds of strange sounds that we make have great value for our social relationship. Parrots learn the so-called bad words easier, since they capture these words as special and perceive that they stand out from the rest. That is why it is common for them to identify the insults we emit emphatically and are very interested in repeating them, understanding that those words are important to us. For a parrot to intend to imitate the sound of the human voice, it must be properly socialized from a very young age. That is why parrots who have not developed this ability at their earliest age are likely to fail later, since it is a complex brain process that must develop with their growth. It has been shown that the brain of parrots has an area specifically dedicated to this faculty, which is very complex and responds to the same brain areas that make them dance when the rhythm of the music is pleasant to them. As with many animals, making a strong association between a circumstance and a sound is a common mechanism that favors the repetition of sounds or words in relation to the correct and appropriate circumstances in such an exact way that it can surprise us. Having explained the mechanism, it should be clarified that having parrots as companion animals is not at all advisable and should not be carried out, since we will be doing damage to nature by removing from its gear a wild animal that must remain in that environment for its proper development and existence. Why do parrots talk? And do they know what they're saying? Of all the creatures on Earth, only two can produce human language, humans and birds. Of the few birds that can imitate human speech, including minnow birds, crows, and ravens, parrots are clearly the best at it. They give TED Talks, speak multiple languages, and even front heavy metal bands. So why can parrots talk when our closer primate relatives cannot? Parrots are vocal learners, meaning they grasp sounds by hearing and then imitating them. Although several other bird species can discern and repeat sounds, parrots are the pros. Eric Jarvis, a Duke University neuroscientist and vocal learning expert, recently published a study in PLOS ONE explaining why. Any bird that's a vocal learner has a part of the brain devoted to this, called the song system. But in parrots, the song system has two layers: an inner core, common to all avian vocal learners, and an outer shell, which is unique to parrots. Jarvis thinks that this recently discovered shell is what allows parrots to be such expert mimickers, though he hasn't figured out exactly how it works yet. But why do they copy human speech? Peer pressure. It turns out, parrots naturally try to fit in, be it among other parrots or other people in the wild. Parrots use their vocal prowess to share important information and fit in with the flock, says Irene Pepperberg, a research associate and part-time lecturer at Harvard. Pepperberg is best known for her work probing the intelligence of an African gray parrot called Alex, who lived in Pepperberg's lab for 30 years, until his death in 2007. A single bird in the wild is a dead bird. It can't look for food and look for predators at the same time. Pepperberg says, but in a flock they can trade off responsibilities. Parrots are even capable of learning and using varying dialects. Yellow-naped Amazon parrots in Costa Rica, for example, have regional dialects, and when they swap regions, the transplants often pick up the local twang. Tim Wright, who studies parrot vocalization at New Mexico State University, found in his research. So plop a parrot into a human household, and it will try to integrate itself into the situation as though the people were its flock members. Says Pepperberg, pet parrots have all the essential conditions for picking up language time, inspiration, and mental ability. Wild parrots, on the other hand, lack the needed close proximity to speech. The wild parrots have been overheard spouting human phrases, presumably learned from escaped pet parrots. This behavior is rare in the wild. Parrots focus on other parrots for what they want to learn, Wright says. It's only in captivity, when humans become their sources of social interaction, that they start paying attention to us. The question is, do these precocious birds know what they're saying? For parrots, words may have some associations, but not complex meanings, says Wright. But they are very attuned to the context in which we use words. And so I think that often fools people a little bit. When a parrot says hello, how are you? When its owner enters the room, for example, it's not necessarily interested in your well-being, but is mimicking what it hears the owner saying when he or she comes in. In fact, a parrot's understanding of how are you is probably, oh look, someone has come into the room. Parrots are also drawn to phrases and sounds associated with excitement and commotion. Wright adds, which may be why the birds are so good at learning profanity. With training, though, it can be a different story, says Pepperberg. She bought Alex right after she completed her PhD in 1977 and decided to train him rigorously. The bird listened and watched a pair of researchers identify and exchange simple objects importantly. Objects Alex liked. One human acted as a model for the bird, exchanging objects with the other researcher while Alex watched. They sometimes intentionally made mistakes, so the bird could see that not any random new noise mediates transfer of the object, just its label. Only when the bird was practically falling off his perch, lusting after these objects, did the researchers loop him into the conversation, and, if he identified an object correctly, let him play with it. Parrots who talk know what they're saying if they are taught appropriately, Pepperberg says. For example, a bird trained to identify favorite foods knows exactly what they mean when they ask for them. For example, Waldo, a 21-year-old African gray parrot who has been part of the band Beak for 12 years. What started as a joke has become a successful venture, like snacking on bananas and crackers. As drummer Blake Harrison told Vice, "We got him dehydrated banana chips, and he pieced it together and called them banana crackers on his own. It's a little creepy." By the end of his life, Pepperberg's Alex had learned to identify 50 objects, 7 colors, 6 shapes.
Interestingly, the parrot is the only bird that can eat with its feet. His feet are to him as hands are to men. Not only does he use it to walk, But he also uses it to pick up things such as food and fruits. A strange thing that has been noticed is that some parrots prefer to use one foot more than the other, with the same mechanism that humans prefer to use the right hand over the left or vice versa. One of the funny things about parrots is the relationship between them and pirates. If I ask you now to imagine the pirate, then the figure in your imagination will be as follows: a person with a wooden foot and a severed hand, and he puts a black bandage on his eye, and he is holding a sword, and the scene will not be completed except with something important, which is that the parrot that stands on the shoulder of the pirate, and the pirates always appear accompanied parrots. It is likely that the reason why the pirates are associated with the parrot is that the parrot can monitor and spy, and he can be trained to move some collectibles from one place to another. However, we cannot be sure that it was part of the pirate culture. It's just that it has been used a lot in novels and cinematic works, and today we're answering the question of how a parrot can speak like a human.
And whoever enters the channel for the first time, we will answer the questions that may come to your mind in this channel. You are lying on the bed at night or during the day and you do not have sleep. And as usual, if there is a question that comes to you at night and confuses, you write it to us in the comments under the videos so that we can answer it for you. And if you like the video, do not forget to like and share. And for the people who see us for the first time, do subscribe and activate the bell so that our videos will reach you first. See you next episode. Bye. Thank you.